Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I'm joined by my guy, Kyle Collier. He is the producer of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB, and in this video, we are going to talk about the Chiefs' offense and if they can bounce back from a pretty mediocre past couple of seasons. So, Kyle, the Chiefs' offense has been a topic of conversation for a while now. We all want to see them get back to being the high-flying, explosive offense that they were back in 2022, and even back what they were, kind of I don't want to say not pre-COVID, but kind of pre-COVID. Like, they were crazy in 2018 and 2019. And so I want to ask you, what would you define as a success for the Chiefs' offense this season, and what would be a failure?
Absolutely. And I'm pulling up Patrick Mahomes' Pro Football Reference page. 26 touchdowns last year, 11 picks. Obviously, that is not the norm for Mahomes. The year before, 27 touchdowns, 14 picks. And then 2022, that's the last really great, explosive offensive season that we saw from Mahomes. Obviously, wins the MVP, wins the Super Bowl, 41 touchdowns, 12 picks. I'm not going to ask for 41 and 10, something like that. But I need 30 plus from Patrick Mahomes. And I think the way that you do that is with, number one, a revamped left side of the offensive line. And by the way that Andy Reid is talking about Josh Simmons, it sounds like Josh Simmons is about to be the guy. I do my show with Seren Petro, and Petro, you and I are obviously young fellas in our 20s, Darcy, but Petro's been doing this for 30 years now. And he said the other day, I've never heard Andy Reid talk about a rookie like this and just telling reporters that he'll be ready to go. I've never heard a guy excite Andy Reid like that. So obviously the offensive line is going to be huge. And I just think about last year, if Rashee Rice does not get hurt, their offense is probably a much more explosive unit. I think that would Rashee Rice paired with Xavier Worthy, I think would have just opened up so many more possibilities. So it was incredibly unfortunate what happened to Rice last year, but this year I think it definitely can be different. Give Hollywood Brown another year in the system. Hopefully he's able to stay somewhat healthy. Obviously, he only played about 3 or 4 regular season games last year, and same with Rice. So that kind of just left all responsibility in the offense to a 34-year-old Travis Kelce and a young rookie who's 170 pounds coming out of Texas. This year, I expect much bigger things. I brought up Hollywood Brown being a little bit more healthy will help, and Rashee Rice being there. We'll see how long the suspension is, if it comes this year. We're kind of just in a perpetual waiting game with Rashee Rice and the legal issues.
I don't think he's going to get suspended. Like, it might be 2026.
Yeah, dude, I know.
Or something crazy.
Yeah, I know. And the further you get away from it, the less likely it is to be a major suspension. I think originally when that incident happened, everybody was like, all right, there goes half of Rashee Rice's season. And then this year, everybody making predictions. It's like, all right, he might get 4 to 6. The longer it goes, I feel like the less harsh it might be. Not excusing the incident that got him in trouble, but there could be some good news in store for the Chiefs offense this year in the form of Rashee Rice being available. Andy Reid spoke today, I know, recently. He spoke to the media, and he said not only Josh Simmons, but he said Rashee Rice is going to be good to go for training camp, which is huge news. First of all, that means he's going to be healthy. And second of all, he's going to assume that role of the number one option in the passing offense. And, Seren and I, we went back and forth when we were talking Royals about veteran guys like Salvador Perez, right, who is a beloved guy in this town. But you know what? Maybe you need to catch less. Maybe you need to scale back your playing time to keep you fresh. And we had that same conversation about Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, he self-admitted that, he wasn't in the greatest shape of his life last year. He says he's come in this year a little bit lighter. But given his age, somebody might have to have a difficult conversation with either Pat or Travis saying, hey, you cannot look at 87 every time this year. You know, he cannot be your number one option every
No.
time. Look at number 4.
Yeah.
Look at I forgot what number Worthy is. Number 1. Or number 5 in Hollywood Brown. You got to look at the other guys who bring explosiveness, bring some juice to the offense. And if Travis Kelce can just be that steady tight end, he's not going to be the Travis Kelce of old. He's going to have to be that
No.
possession receiver. He's not going to be, that little dream shake move he does.
No.
That's not good.
No.
That doesn't work as well anymore. And that was
Not at
clear
36 or
exactly,
at 36.
exactly. And that was clear on tape last year. So I think what we're in store for. I definitely do think we're in store for more deep plays. I think getting another year of Xavier Worthy in the system is going to be huge, and I think the kid is going to develop mightily this year, greatly, whatever the word I'm looking for is. I've been talking all day, excuse me, but Rashee Rice being there is going to help so much. It's going to open up so many more possibilities because the number one guy has got to guard Rashee Rice.
Yeah. No, Rashee Rice is so good because he's going to pull in the defense, and then you got Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown underneath. What the Chiefs' offense is going to be able to do this year, on paper, should make them a top 10 offense, and that's kind of where I'm at. If this offense isn't top 10, something went very wrong. And honestly, Kyle, they probably should be top 5, and I think that obviously this team has transitioned more to being a defensive unit, someone that's going to get after the quarterback and, hold opponents to sub 25 points.
Right.
But the Chiefs' offense has been kind of handicapping the team, and that should not be the case when you have Patrick Mahomes. And so I think bare minimum they should be top 10, and they probably should be top 5. And if that's the case, Kyle, they should win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and it just speaks to it. They were middle of the pack last year, and they still made the Super Bowl. So obviously, they can find enough ways to get it done, and that's just the mark of a championship culture, championship organization, and just an excellent coaching staff. That they find every little way to beat you, even with a subpar offense. This year, everybody's healthy. We'll see about Josh Simmons, but the way Andy Reid's talking about Josh Simmons, it's my hopes have certainly been raised. If that offensive line is even half as better as it was last year, then man, there could be some exciting things in store.
Well, I think that's kind of the only real concern that a lot of Chiefs fans have is, can they block for Patrick Mahomes? If Patrick Mahomes is healthy, he's going to probably have an opportunity to connect with a very talented wide receiver room. This might be the most talent that he's had at wide receiver in his career. 1 through 6, there's a lot of guys that can really impact the offense. Yeah,
and I think on most other teams, Rashee Rice can be a number 1 on a lot of other teams. I think Hollywood Brown can be a number 2 on a lot of other teams. But in this offense, I think Hollywood Brown is like your 3 or your 4, depending on how much Travis Kelce gets involved. And I also want to bring this up because I forget it just about every time I talk Chiefs offense. Noah Gray had a great year last year.
Yeah, he did.
And he can also be an under the radar weapon that teams are not going to focus on. And that'll just make him even better if you've got 3 other options that most teams would love to have. It just frees up so much for a guy like Noah Gray, or a back out of the backfield, or an older guy like Travis Kelce, who everybody's focused on the speed demon Worthy, the speed demon Hollywood Brown, and then Rashee Rice is the do-it-all guy. Patrick Mahomes should have a lot of options to throw the ball to this year.
Well, we're very excited about the wide receiver room, but I think that a lot of Chiefs fans aren't as optimistic about the running back room just because we're not a run-first team. Andy Reid wants to throw the football, but I feel like the running back room has to improve from last year because I think they had, the least amount of explosive runs in the NFL last year, and you can't have that. And I think that, they have to improve. How optimistic are you that they can do that?
You know what? I actually am a little bit optimistic. I think one of the bigger complaints about Andy Reid and his play calling before last year was that he would neglect the runs at times, especially late in games when he needed to run the ball to kill clock and just keep the ball away from opposing quarterbacks. Last year, he was forced to run the ball because, number one, obviously, they weren't an explosive passing offense, and Patrick Mahomes just didn't have those options. So Andy Reid is kind of forced to just Kareem Hunt, put the offense on your back. I'm going to give you the ball 35 freaking times. So I think we might see a little bit of an evolution of Andy Reid in his play calling this year. I know there's a saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I think Andy Reid actually did learn a lot from last year and saw it's not that he doesn't know it's important. He obviously knows it's important to run the ball, but yeah, like I said before last year, it was a real complaint of many others in mine too, that he just neglected it at times when it was just important, because he just kind of wanted to put the nail in the coffin earlier than he should by passing the ball. I think this year, given the group he has, uh, and we've talked about all the options that Mahomes will have, and I've talked about it ad nauseum so far. But just with all those options, the running game will open up, because now the teams aren't going to stack the box and just expect Kareem Hunt to get the ball 25 to 30 times a game. So there are a number of just branches, different paths that Patrick Mahomes can go to, and I think that's exciting.
True or false? The Chiefs' offense will average over 25 points per game.
Man, do you happen to know what they were at last year?
I don't. The only reason that I mentioned 25 specifically is because it seems like the Chiefs' defense, like, they would just hold opposing teams' offenses to sub 25, and so that's kind of like the magic number in my mind for what is, if the Chiefs score 25, they're probably going to win the football game. So I actually don't know, but I'm trying to find.
I've got it pulled up here. Okay. They were middle of the pack last year at just over 23.
Okay, so a 2-point per game improvement. I don't know if that's really what any Chiefs fan would get excited about, but I think if they score 25 points per game, they're probably going to win.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think you and I are still both confident in this defense. There are some new faces, but if your Spag defense, as it has done in his entire tenure, just keep the point totals, 25 and below and 21 and below often, it should be definitely an easier time for the Chiefs offense this year, because I think that defense is still going to be all right. And just given all the options that I've talked about on the offensive end, just having everybody healthy and available, I definitely think 25 and probably pushing 30 is definitely something we can expect this year.
If the Chiefs average 30 points per game, we're going to have a conversation about this team maybe winning even more games than they did last year, because they won 15 games last year and the offense was god-awful. And the hope is that with a healthy wide receiver room, like, knock on wood that those guys stay healthy, this Chiefs offense should absolutely be better. And, with that defense, I think they're going to be a very tough unit to beat. And so I guess my final question for you, give me an underrated player that you think could step up on this offense outside of the popular, like, Rashee Rice or, Xavier Worthy answer.
That's a great question. Oh, man.
We always hear, like, oh, Rashee Rice is going to break out. Yeah, I think he is going to break out. But, like, is there someone on the offense that you're like, okay, like, he might be surprising? And a guy that I might mention, and actually this just came to my mind, Juju Smith-Schuster might be a guy that, like, doesn't wow you necessarily, but even last year down the stretch, he was more valuable to the team than DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that, and it's just a steady veteran presence that Andy Reid trusts, and a guy who knows the system obviously very well. He won't be the first, second, third, fourth option probably. He's probably sitting there at number 5, but or number 4 probably. But Juju is just dependable. I know he's not his 25-year-old self anymore. I still think he's only like 28, but he has dealt with some lower body injuries, unfortunately. And when he was in New England, right? Yeah, New England. But yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster should be a steady presence. It just makes Pat more comfortable to just have a guy that he trusts. And like you mentioned, he trusted him last year.
Yeah, they do really have, like, a weird sense of chemistry. The answer probably would have been, like, Justin Watson if he was still here, but he's no longer here. So I do think the Chiefs' offense is going to be more exciting this year. I don't expect them to get back to the unit that they were back in, like, 2018, 2019. But they also didn't win back-to-back Super Bowls when the offense was playing like that. So you got to kind of give and take a little bit. But I think that we could all agree the offense just needs to be better and more efficient when they're in the red zone.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think that will change this year. Uh, eh, I don't want to call him a gadget guy, but you asked about who might surprise us this year. I'll throw Brashard Smith in there.
Okay.
He's bigger than I thought he was. 5'10", 190, 195. So we'll see how his rookie year goes if Andy Reid kind of uses his speed and explosiveness as more of that gadget type role just to ease him into the offense. I can see that happening. But last year, do you know who led the Chiefs in touchdowns?
Oh, man, I don't. If I was to guess, that would probably be... I don't want to say...
He had
it definitely
9.
wasn't Kelce. Was it?
It was not Travis Kelce.
It was it Kareem Hunt?
No, it was Xavier Worthy last year.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I did too, but I was wrong. But yeah, Xavier Worthy led the Chiefs offense in touchdowns last year, with 9 as a rookie.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I know. And it just kind of goes to show how piss poor last year was, how their offense just had no options. Obviously a veteran Travis Kelce, a veteran Kareem Hunt, who doesn't have that juice anymore. But Xavier Worthy led the team last year, and he definitely was not a gadget type last year. He was thrust into kind of a full-time role. And I keep going back to this, but it's just as simple as that. Hollywood Brown's back. Rashee Rice is back. Xavier Worthy's obviously back. Travis Kelce is back, and he says he's lighter this year. Noah Gray obviously had a great year last year. The Chiefs extended him. He's only going to get there's probably not much room for development. He's probably at his ceiling. Yeah. But there's just so many more options, and I'll throw Brashard Smith into the ring as an option too. I think there are going to be a lot of creative things that Andy Reid is going to be able to cook up in the red zone.
Okay, I'm pretty excited to see which guys are going to emerge, and Kyle, I think my final question for you before we get out of here: where will the Chiefs' offense rank at the end of the season? We'll go total offense.
Total. Okay, I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Total offense. I think so. They were like 15 or 16 last year.
Yes.
I'm gonna go top 8 at the least.
I was gonna say I was feeling like 7 or 8, and I think that's a conservative answer. But if they're top 8 with a defense that's gonna hopefully just kind of stay the same, or if not get a little bit better with some of the youth, like they're gonna be in a really good spot to get back to the Super Bowl and hopefully kind of get some revenge for last year. But it should be really exciting to watch, and this is something that we'll cover in training camp and in the preseason. But, Kyle, I think that's all the time we have in this video. My final question for you is, where can the people find your stuff?
Follow me on the X or Twitter at Kyle Collier _810. And then listen to me on 810 WHB, the program with Soren Petro, 2 to 6 every day.
You guys got to listen to the best damn radio show in the city, and all of Kyle's stuff will be linked in the description of this video. Hit that like button, subscribe for more Daily Chiefs content. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and as always, go Chiefs.